everybody, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I make videos all about sustainability and vegan lifestyle. And if you're new to my channel, please leave me a comment down below and introduce yourself. I'd love to say hello personally. I'm really excited about today's video. As you can tell in the thumbnail, my video is going to be on sustainable gift wrapping. So obviously the holidays are right around the corner, but you can use this for, birthdays, other occasions as well. It's an all-around gift wrapping guide. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to start out with beginner type of tips, and then I'm going to move on to a little bit more advanced type tips. So the first half is going to be beginner, some things you may already be doing, and then the other half is things that are a little bit more advanced. If you're already doing what I suggest in the beginner tips, stick around and stay tuned for the more advanced tips. All right, so the number one tip that I have for you, as always, if you've watched any of my videos before on sustainability, I always suggest to make sure that you are using up what you have first. So that is like, if I were to write a book on sustainability and pillars of sustainability, that would be my number one pillar. So make sure that you're using up what you have first. That is the most sustainable thing that you can do. Instead of wasting that and buying a more sustainable option, then you definitely want to use up what you have first. If you really do not want to use what you already have, then make sure that you're either donating it or giving it to someone, maybe gifting it to someone that you know will use it. So my second tip when it comes to gift wrapping is something that you're probably already doing. If you're like me and you literally have a gift bag full of gift bags, I know there's some of you out there, then you can definitely use that. I have no shame in picking up all of the gift bags after Christmas because everybody already knows that I'm going to reuse those things and give them right back to you for next year. So if you're already reusing gift bags, just obviously making sure that you're taking care of them in the best way possible. There is also a way that you can use a gift bag without having to use tissue paper as well. If you already have some, again, use what you have. But you can use gift bags and seal it up in a way that still looks great, but you don't have to use tissue paper for that. Another thing that you can do is reuse paper. So especially, and this might be something that you'll have to keep in mind after the holidays to use for next year or other occasions. But if you are getting a gift that is quite large, that someone has used wrapping paper to wrap the gift with, then just maybe be a little bit more careful when you're unwrapping the gift, because then you can potentially save some of that gift wrap and wrap another future present in the same gift wrap. If it's a little bit smaller, then you don't have to worry about like tape marks and that kind of stuff. But you can still reuse that type of gift wrap as well. My third tip is, you may already be doing this as well, but as far as stockings go, this is probably a little bit harder if you're a parent and you have snoopy, nosy kids. But when it comes to stocking stuffers, you don't really need to wrap those. So especially if you're in a house of adults, just tell them not to look in their stocking, and then you don't have to waste any wrapping paper trying to make sure that those items are covered even more than already being in a stocking. Again, if you do have children in the house and you know that they'll look, one of the great options is like what I just talked about, is save some wrapping paper, or if you have wrapping paper scraps from previous years, or even tissue paper. Sometimes packaging, like if you're getting a package that's sent to you from a purchase online, it'll be packed in brown packing paper. You can always use that as well. Anything else that you want to use to kind of cover those things up, maybe just put a piece of tissue paper on top of the stocking so that they don't look in or by accident don't see it. But again, if you don't need to use the paper to cover up what's already in the stocking, it's already in a wrapping, so just do without that. And my fourth tip is, you may remember this from growing up. If your parents were anything like mine, sometimes I would get gifts that are wrapped in the comic section of the newspaper. So you can use newspaper, you can use the comics if you find them. I honestly don't even know if they have that big of a section of comics anymore, but you can definitely use newspaper if you're trying to wrap a gift. That's a really great sustainable option if you're done reading the newspaper, or even if you don't use it at all. That's a great way to wrap a present. It still looks really cool, and then that way you don't have to waste any money on wrapping paper. And the fifth tip that I have for you is, as far as ways to secure your gift when it comes to wrapping it, you can always use string or previous ribbon that you may have. but string is a really great option. This is what my birthday present was recently wrapped in, especially if you like a more natural looking present. This comes off really, really cute. And again, you're just using something that you may already have. If you have other string that you want to use around the house, that could go just as well. If you already have tape, you'll want to use that up. Fortunately, I bought this probably 5 or so years ago. And when I bought a pack of rolls, like 6 rolls. And this is only like my 2nd or 3rd roll. So I have a lot to still use up. So maybe if I know someone who, works in an office that uses a lot of tape or something like that, I could donate that to them. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to use it up until I find another option that's a little bit better. If you don't have a ton of plastic tape that you're using, then there is always the option to do paper tape. They have paper packing tape. So if you are one of those people that isn't getting together with as many people as you may have in previous holidays, you might be packing a gift to send, to a different city. So you can always use paper packing tape, but there is paper tape available, and sometimes they even have some colored paper tape. So that might be a good option if you are into the aesthetics of the whole wrapping process and you want to get a colored option. That's available as well. There's also ways that when you're wrapping, if you're using wrapping paper, you can wrap your gifts without having to use tape or string at all. So you can definitely look those up. I haven't ventured into that, but I know that there's an option for that. So if you're interested in that, or if you ran out of tape, that might be a good option to look up as well. Okay, so now let's move on to a couple more advanced tips for you. Now, keep in mind that some of these I am even not quite there yet because I'm still using up some of my wrapping paper. If you know me, I love a hot deal. So at the end of the season, I usually go in and grab some of the clearance items. So I still have a handful of rolls. I didn't buy any last year, but previous years I've bought a couple rolls when they're on clearance, and so I'm still using through those. So when it comes to actually wrapping your present, a couple different items that you can use instead of using wrapping paper is you can use any sort of fabric. So there's a couple different ways that you can go about this. If you're a sewer especially, you can use what I call a Santa sack. So what my mom has done in the past, I have one here that it almost looks like a pillowcase, to be honest, but it's just a sack and it has a drawstring. So you just put your gift in and then tie it up and it's good to go. And there's a beautiful ribbon that's on it as well. So that's perfect for making it look a little bit more aesthetic too. So this is a great, perfect option. Another option, after I saw that, it came to me that you could also use pillowcases for gifts as well. This was in my husband's closet from before I moved in. If this isn't what you would consider like a freaking bachelor pillowcase, I don't know what it is, but regardless, this is, for what it is, it's a beautiful wrapping. So what you can use, if you have an old pillowcase that you don't know what to do with, you can always use this as a gift wrapped as well. So you can put the gift in, you can put a cute bow on it, or you can make this into a bow. You can use some of your twine or what have you. If you already have some ribbon, you can use that as well. But I just thought this would be a really great option to use as wrapping too. Another option is to use like little canvas bags. So if you have little canvas bags for anything else, you can definitely use them for gift cards or for jewelry or anything else. There's a lot of things that come in sustainable bags instead of disposable bags. So anything that you really get in a sustainable bag, you can reuse for a gift as well. And I almost forgot, I know I mentioned fabric. So you can actually go to a fabric store and pick out some fabric scraps or whatever size of fabric that you actually want, and pick out whatever obviously pattern that you really appeal to, because hopefully if you buy that fabric and you use that as wrapping paper, you'll be using it for years and years to come. So you can always do that. A really good idea might be is after the holidays, those seasonal type fabrics are going to be probably on clearance or on a little bit better of a sale. So you can pick those up for pretty cheap and buy whatever sizes you need, and then you can use them for next year. And they look really great. If you see here, there's some that you don't even need to use any tape or any string or ribbon or anything like that. You can just tie it up and it still looks super elegant, super aesthetic. So definitely take advantage of that option. And again, take advantage of the holiday clearance after the holidays are up, because that would be one of the more sustainable options that you can do. Now, different types of wrapping. So when it comes to the actual gift that you're wrapping, you can also wrap it in another gift. Now, what I mean by that is that if you are wrapping, say you're going to a baby shower and you're already getting a baby blanket, you can wrap the gift in a baby blanket so that you aren't using any wrapping paper. And also, baby blankets, there's all obviously other kinds of blankets that are all super cute, and it's a really great way to do a different type of wrapping and really make it super aesthetic as well. Another gift is potentially if you're getting like a larger scarf or something like that, you can always wrap the gift in a scarf. You can wrap in a larger blanket if you wanted to as well. One thing that my mom does is this Christmas she plans on giving my niece and nephew a pillowcase that she makes. So she's going to wrap another gift inside of the pillowcase and make the pillowcase her wrapping. So instead of using the bachelor pad type of thought process when it comes to pillowcases, she's actually giving the pillowcase as a gift. So that's a really great option as well. So just trying to be a little bit more creative about what you're giving to another person or another loved one. If it already could be a wrapping, then maybe use that to wrap the other gifts in. So just something to think about. Now, when it comes to larger gifts, specifically, I have a quite big gift that I'm giving my husband, and it comes in this kind of ugly brown box. So what I could do is I could drape a blanket over it, or if I was giving a blanket as a gift, I could use that as wrapping paper. Another thing that you can do is if you have some sheets that you're not using, you can always wrap it in some sheets. That would be a great idea. Or if you're giving them as a present, obviously you can do that as well if you know that they're going to use them and like them and not want to return them. But just trying to be as creative as possible. You can also just give them the gift in the brown box. It's already in packaging. You can color on it if you want to, get a couple of Sharpies out, draw some hollies, and you're good to go. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. If you don't like that your Christmas tree isn't super aesthetic with the ugly brown box underneath it or by it, then just keep that in a different place and then bring it out for Christmas when you're unwrapping gifts, and then you should be good to go. And this type of suggestion may not be as popular this year with the pandemic going on, but if you're doing any DIY type of gifts, so for example, if you're making a hot cocoa mix and giving it out, which is something that I might plan on doing. Also, there's other gifts like a sugar scrub for the bath, those types of things that would come in like a glass jar. Then you can always use a glass jar that you had other items in. I have to do this a lot where I'm used to thinking that, living up to the standard that everything has to be uniform, super aesthetic. You see those organization closets that everything looks very uniform, very in line with everything else. But life isn't really like that, so it's okay. This glass specifically obviously has some writing and everything on the top. So what you can do in this case is if you have some old spray paint or something like that, take the top off, spray paint it, or if you have some anything that would be essentially dishwasher safe or what have you, you can try to do that for this as well. That's what I plan on doing with this. And then that's it. If you have an old ribbon or again, some string that you really want to tie onto it to make it look a little bit more festive, you can always do that. But you can also, if you remember, if you are someone who grew up in the 90s or earlier than that. So these may look familiar to some of you. These are vis-a-vis expo markers. So this is what our teachers, if you remember, used to put on the projector screen so that we could learn the math equation. So they are wet erase markers. So these are really great if you wanted to do a DIY type of thing and you want to write on the glass. You can always say happy holidays, draw whatever type of festive things you want on there. If, for example, you were using a Sharpie, it doesn't prevent them from being able to wash it and use it for anything else. It's a nice, fun way to kind of put a tag on it without putting a tag on it, which kind of brings me to my next thing. If you don't have holiday tags or name tags or what have you that you usually put on here, you can always use a Sharpie marker, draw on the gift, write it right to and from on there, that's perfectly fine. That's a lot more sustainable than buying a tag. But if you really want a tag, I actually saw the other day, one of my friends shared with me that you can use a previous Christmas card. If you want to save it for next year, you can cut out like a Christmas tree or what have you, whatever is on the Christmas card that you like, punch a hole in it, or better yet, just tape it on the gift and use that as a name tag. You can also, my favorite thing to do with old cards, and I actually started doing this in 3rd grade, and every once in a while I'll bring it back out, but you can actually make small boxes with old cards. So this is a prime example, and I'll show you exactly how to do that as well. I'll do a little step-by-step here. So for this project, you will need whatever greeting card that you're going to use, a ruler, a pencil, scissors, and you may need tape as well. So you're going to measure the card, and you're going to mark the halfway point on the card with the widthwise as well as lengthwise. And then you're going to fold the card into that point on both width and length side. You're going to then use your scissors and cut the longest part of the folds, and then you're going to fold them in like this. Then you will repeat the same process for the front of the card. If you need to use tape, you can do so as well. And then you come out with this cute little box. So that's a great way to use up the cards that you already have. I know sometimes they're super sentimental, sometimes they're not, and you want to have a second use for them. So whatever the situation is for you, then you can use them up that way. Sometimes I have, like, for example, you have like birth announcements or previous Christmas cards from loved ones. You can use these, and again, like, I'm pretty nostalgic, so I keep these. These are like multiple years old. So you can kind of have a nice little keepsake for the mother of these children. It's a nice little reminder and memory that can be kind of like a little keepsake box and a gift kind of in itself. So super cute way, super awesome way to use up some old cards. It's a great way to put in gift cards or little keepsakes, earrings, jewelry, whatever you might want to put in there that could fit in there. But a great way to use up an old card, and again, one of those things that you gotta kind of think about now during the holidays so that you can use up for next year. So here's a couple bonus suggestions or tips that I have for you. If you are one of those people that really likes the aesthetic look of a tree and the Christmas presents under the tree, fully wrapped and all that kind of stuff, one more sustainable option than going out and buying a bunch of gift wrap before the holidays. Something to think about during this holiday season is to keep in mind that within the week or two after the holiday season is complete, usually after Christmas, then you can go out and find gift wrapping for much cheaper that's on clearance. And then the whole supply and demand doesn't take as much of an effect as it does if you were to buy that stuff beforehand. Now, that's the reason why I still have 5 or 6 rolls, is because that's what I usually do after the season. And then that way, especially if you're one of those people that really likes to buy for specific occasions, then you can get, you know, that Santa wrapping paper, or again, this goes for any other type of holiday or past any other type of holiday. If there's a specific, you know, baby shower season or wedding season or what have you, if there's specific type of gift wraps that you really want to have a specific occasion wrapping for, just keep your eyes out for those holidays and around the end of those holidays so that you can wrap however you want to, but then it's a little bit less of a supply and demand factor. Also, this is huge, learning how to wrap your gifts properly. So my husband will say he's a great rapper.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy.
Until I tell him it's about gift wrapping, and then he will probably agree with me that he is not quite the best. So this is huge. It can really extend the life of your gift wrapping if you learn how to use the most out of the gift wrap that you have. So if you're using rolls upon rolls because you're either messing up or you're just folding a bunch of different paper on top of each other, it gives me anxiety to think about when I watch my husband wrap gifts. But when you learn how to actually wrap the presents using the least amount of paper that you actually need, then that can make a huge difference as well, and extending the life of the paper that you already have, but again, being a little bit more sustainable and conscious about what you are using. Okay, I think that is just about everything that I could think of, but if you have a great sustainable gift wrapping option that you want to share, please leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to learn from you, and hopefully others can learn learn from you as well, and then we can implement them all as we go. So I really appreciate you watching this. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments below what tips you're already using or what you plan on using this year. I'd love to hear them. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!